Fox News has mentioned the Coast Guard terrorist. It has come up. Has it come up to the extent that it would in terms of minutes spent on it, segments spent on it, shows spent on it? If this guy was black, if he was Muslim, you know the answer to that. Of course not. It has been mentioned briefly at best. And to the extent that they have talked about it, they have talked about it in terms of trying to shift the narrative away from Donald Trump having any culpability on this topic. But we've talked about Donald Trump. Let's talk about Fox News. Let's talk about what the Coast Guard terrorist believed was going on in this country and where he might have gotten these crazy ideas, because you've probably seen some of his writings. He believed that the president was the target of an illegitimate coup, that the deep state and all of those, they were working to undermine and remove the president, that there was a civil war that was already happening, and thus it was time to start a literal civil war. Okay, so that happened earlier this week. Let's see how Fox News addressed this topic. Within just like 24 to 36 hours of this news breaking, Laura Ingraham had a guy on her show, Joe DiGenova. And let's see how he talked about what was going on politically in our country.
We are in a civil war in this country. There's two standards of justice, one for Democrats, one for Republicans. The press is all Democrat, all liberal, all progressive, all left. They hate Republicans. They hate Trump. So the suggestion that there's ever going to be civil discourse in this country for the foreseeable future is over. It's not going to be. It's going to be total war. And as I say to my friends, I do two things. I vote and I buy guns.
Okay, so you heard it there. There is a civil war going on now, so loyal conservatives watching Fox News, the message from that guest is go buy guns. Vote too, that's fine, but definitely buy guns, because there is no civil discourse anymore. There is a civil war, not in the future, right now. So look, the obvious thing that you do when a guy like the Coast Guard terrorist pops up is you look at his writing and you think, oh my God, was that sort of messaging, the things that he believed, the deranged thoughts that he had, and Laura Ingraham calls them deranged, where would he have gotten that sort of messaging? And you can look back and say, well, Fox News talks about that way quite a bit, and we'll return to that. But Laura Ingraham decides to go a step beyond that. She's not just content to have stoked those feelings and those fears and those thoughts in the past. She brings on a guy after that happens to double down on it. To say, if any of you out there, if you're in the Coast Guard or somewhere else in the military, or maybe not in the military at all, if you agree with the Coast Guard terrorist, if you think that there is a civil war, that there's an illegitimate plot to remove the president, and this guy was stopped, if you think that that was a bad thing, if you think he was really onto something, I've got your back, and I am gonna flood the airwaves with people who are gonna stoke more fear, more anger, more rage against what's going on in this country, using the exact same language that the Coast Guard domestic terrorist was using in his writings. Laura Ingraham, she knows who this guy is. Did she denounce him immediately after he said that? No, of course not. She agrees with him. She thinks the Coast Guard terrorist has absolutely nothing to do with Donald Trump. She said that he's just a deranged freak. And of course he is. Have you seen his skin? Of course he's a lone wolf. He's just a guy with mental health problems. He's not following on from a particular strain of divisive, violent political rhetoric, a political ideology being continually pushed on Fox News night after night. He's just a weirdo, don't pay him any attention. And us leftists in the media, we're trying to tie it to Trump. You're tying it to Trump and Donald and Fox News in who you're bringing on literally after we find out about the guy. Now look, that's one time. You might say I'm focusing too much on a particular guest. It wasn't even Laura Ingraham after all. It was just a guest. Well, Media Matters done a great job of looking back on the terminology that Fox News has used recently involving a coup and an illegitimate attempt to get rid of the president. Here's some of that mashup.
Now witnessing a deep state coup. I'll explain in detail. There's no doubt any longer.
We were mocked, Laura, for saying this for all this time, that there is this soft coup against Donald Trump.
They're plotting basically what amounts to a political coup. You heard it right. They're trying to undermine our democracy and create a constitutional crisis.
This is about a full-on assault by the left, the Democratic Party, to absolutely carry out a coup d'etat.
And this doesn't appear to be a witch hunt. It appears to be a silent coup.
They so hate this president and the American people. The FBI agents that tried to undermine Trump in this soft coup.
What is happening here is a coup d'etat.
What I call a soft coup.
A silent coup to get him out of office.
By the way, if it were happening in a less developed country, we'd know exactly what to call it.
It's an attempted coup. If that's true, we have a coup on our hands.
This is an attempted coup d'etat to get rid of the duly elected president of the United States.
We're gonna lose the country.
They want to subvert his administration. They would love to carry out an actual coup d'etat.
Okay, so by the way, that's not the entire video. We just don't play multi-minute videos on this show, but go to Media Matters and you'll see it. It's on their front page right now. So you saw it there. You heard it right in Sean Hannity's words. They continually tell their viewers there is a coup going on. Okay, so what is actually going on? Just briefly, Robert Mueller is investigating whether Donald Trump and his campaign broke the law. That is not only obviously necessary, but it is 100% legal. There have been any number of different special counsels and special investigators that Fox News has championed in past years. Nothing illegitimate, nothing illegal, nothing subversive, nothing deep state about that. They also tried to say that what McCabe was talking about the conversation that he apparently had at one point about the use of the 25th Amendment, that's a coup. First of all, it's not a coup, it's literally in the Constitution. It's an amendment to the Constitution, making it not only legal, but by its very nature, constitutional. So, and by the way, he had a conversation. McCabe, if it came to using the 25th Amendment, McCabe would have no part in that. That is for the vice president and the cabinet of the presidency to do. So if it were to go through, if you were to have an invoking of the 25th Amendment that was successful, which we've literally never had in our country's history, by its very nature, that would be a 100% Republican effort that was going on. A Republican effort that, were it to happen, you might not like, you might think it's a bad idea, but it would not be illegal, it would not be unconstitutional. So let's return to Fox News. There are people out there, like the Coast Guard terrorist, that think, thanks to this message, that what is going on is inherently unconstitutional and illegitimate. And if you have the power to do something about it, it is thus contingent on you to do something about that. Now, for most people, you don't have any weapons, you don't have any military training, you would go out there, you might protest, you might do calls, you might vote in a particular way. The vast majority of Republicans and conservatives would never do anything violent, even after listening to that deranged onslaught of coups and coup d'etats and coup d'etats. They disagree about how it's supposed to be pronounced on Fox News. But some people do have guns. Some people have been trained for decades that you kill your enemies. Some people will take it seriously. They have been taught that you defend the Constitution, that you defend the country, you defend the presidency, all of that. They don't necessarily know what order you're supposed to do that in, but they know that they have a duty. And if their duty involves the use of force, they will do that. Now this guy, the Coast Guard guy, he was stopped. But will the next guy get stopped? Will the next deranged lunatic in the Coast Guard or the Army or the Air Force or the Space Force or the Marines, will they take it as seriously as this guy did? Will they think it's their job to open up a spot on the Supreme Court for Donald Trump? Will they think it's their job to take out critics like Adam Schiff and Senator Blumenthal and AOC and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer? Will they think it's their job to stop the illegitimate fake news assault against the president and clear out the newsroom of MSNBC and CNN and take out those bastards at the Washington Post and New York Times? They are fed a healthy diet every day of violence and hatred and fear and suspicion. At some point, someone will act. At various points, people have already acted. We've already had attempted acts of assassination and terror. And now, just this week, we find out we have more. Will Fox News change their rhetoric? We know that the president isn't going to. We've given up on that. We have a dictator in office. He's never going to stop trying to get people killed in the media. Will Fox News stop using this terminology of a coup? We'll find out. We'll be watching them. We'll see. Media Matters. They'll be watching. Will they moderate based on what obvious impact their words have had? We will find out in the near future. My hopes are not high. Thank you very much for watching this clip from the Damage Report. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell on YouTube to get notifications of our new videos. And of course, you can catch the full Damage Report live every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on TYT Network on YouTube TV.